All right.
Well, let's do Impact.
Okay, so Impact, I didn't watch it.
What, again?
Yeah, what?
So you've given up.
You got a problem?
Don't even tell me you haven't given up. You've given up?
I have not given up.
Yeah, you have.
It'll
You've
be back
given up.
next week.
It ain't coming back next week.
It'll be back
You've given
next
up.
week.
Why?
No, I haven't. I have not.
Is it that bad?
It'll be back next week.
It's not going to be back next week, Tom.
Yes, it is.
Tom, you know this. Once you start skipping, you don't go back.
It's coming back with a global force behind
No,
it.
it's not.
Yeah, sure it is.
It's been at least 3 weeks now.
Yeah, I'm going to binge watch it. I've heard the show's been great.
Nope. You're in a habit now.
I've been saving it to watch it.
I'll bet you $10 you ain't going to watch it.
What, you want to just PayPal me the money right now?
No, I want to do it on the air next week.
Well, sure as hell watch it if you're going to pay me $10.
You're going to read through the report on the front page.
No, I will watch it.
I'm going to tell them to put an Easter egg in there. And if you read it out because you didn't watch the show,
Cool.
you're going to owe me $20.
Good. Fine. I'll do that deal every week. I just negotiated myself a raise.
I didn't say every week. I said this week.
I said every week.
Well, I'm not agreeing to that.
Okay. Well, next week it's on.
I'll give you $10 next week if you watch.
Hey, how about
show.
this? You can keep the recording going right now, and I'll watch the entire show.
That's not happening.
All right.
Well, I guess we have got a $10 bet about whether or not you were going to actually watch Impact this week. I know you would never lie to me, Tom. Did you watch Impact?
I watched it start to finish.
Okay, well, let's do our report.
Best wrestling show of the week.
Really? Better than Dominion?
This show was last week.
I see.
The week started on Saturday or Sunday, whenever Dominion was. Damn, Dominion was great, wasn't it?
It sure was great.
I mean, I'm even into watching Yoshihashi.
Even, I don't know.
Juice Robinson.
Even Taichi is like...
I mean...
He's becoming a guilty pleasure.
Come on, Taichi.
It's a guilty pleasure.
Desperado.
After the Liger thing, and I don't know.
You know what? Okay, the whole. I was thinking about this the other day. I'm finally ready to admit it, Brian. This whole Kane thing started as like a joke.
You don't say, Tom.
Yeah.
Man, you fucking put one over on me.
When he was just interfering in matches all the time. Like, it was the drizzling shits. Corporate Kane would come out, ruin any main event you were looking forward to watching. Even main events you weren't looking forward to watching, he would come out and ruin them and make them worse. But it endeared him to me. So.
Sometimes that happens.
I worked myself into a shoot like the fans did with Jinder.
When I saw Liger beat him and get his win and everybody was so happy, it was kind of like, I'm just a mark. Like, all that Taichi stuff is just by design. It's just heat getting. And then he got his in the end. And it's beautiful, and I loved it.
Let me tell you the best part of that, the Bullet Club video promo thing. You should watch it. It's pretty fun. Is Omega at the end, he's talking about New Japan has been shoving the same 4 guys down your throat for years. Tanahashi, Naito, Bone Soldier, Okada.
Bone Soldier.
I'm like, oh, that's fucking perfect. Like, he could have picked somebody else. You know, he could have said Yano. That would have been not as funny. I mean, he picked the perfect guy. Fucking Bone Soldier.
Yeah.
So, who's actually part of Bullet Club. So.
Yeah.
So, he's pissed at Bone Soldier, I guess. Anyways. Impact from Mumbai, India. So they somehow recreated Stage 7 in Mumbai to look exactly like the Impact Zone. They play a video package.
Man, how awesome. You could have another goddamn country and you make it look like you never left.
Well, let me tell you, they did some heavy editing because they made India look cleanly and beautiful. Then they cut to the arena and they showed fans losing their shit for the Stars of Impact. These fans were going nuts the whole show. Sometimes at the wrong times, but they were going crazy nonetheless. So, local star, of course, Alberto El Patron, comes down to the ring with his GFW title to cut his standard babyface promo about winning the title, and paid crowd is absolutely awesome, just cheering at everything that he says. Lashley comes out and is booed, followed by Bruce Pritchard. Bruce Pritchard lets him know they will both defend their titles tonight, and he will pick the opponents. Brian, did you watch the show?
No.
Do me one favor right now, please.
Yes.
On your own. This next segment, the Mumbai Cats.
Sounds awesome.
Can you watch? It's probably no more than a minute long. Go watch this. I'll recap Kayla Connolly versus Loki. You pay attention to that, and then we can talk about it. So Caleb Connolly takes on Loki.
What am I watching?
It's the Mumbai Cats and Bruce Pritchard.
Okay, I found it.
Okay. So Caleb Connolly versus Loki. Oh, actually, you know, just play that. No, you know what? Play it on air. How long is it?
Play it on air? Okay, well, you get going, I'll get it set up.
Okay. Caleb Connolly versus Loki. The crowd cheering at bizarre times during this match. This is where I first noticed it. Well, it's actually the first match. So, Josh and JB bickering on commentary. Josh telling JB his strategy at Slammiversary in their match. Loki controls most of this match, still in his Reservoir Dogs outfit. Connolly gets a "This is awesome" chant after a suicide dive. He actually cut Loki above the eye somehow doing the dive, and Josh says if the match is stopped to protect Loki, that he will retain the title, which goes against all logic. Loki hits a double stop to the back as Connolly is draped over the middle rope to get the pin and retain the title. I give it a 6.
Wow, a 6.
Yeah.
Well, let's see what you give this, baby.
Did you watch it?
Okay, I'm having a little hard time understanding exactly who are you two again? You're the Mumbai Cats. Oh, hey, nice to meet you. Pleasure. Have you guys heard my hit single, Mumbai Soft Times, on my podcast, Something to Wrestle with Bruce Pritchard? Oh, it's at the top of the charts. But can I do something for you guys? Something you need?
Patron.
Lashley. You guys want me to pick one of you to either face Alberto El Patron or Bobby Lashley tonight, right? Not gonna happen. Nice meeting you.
Tom, that was the absolute worst job I've ever seen anybody do trying to convince me to watch a wrestling show.
That was like the best unintentional comedy. What the fuck was that?
You tell me.
I don't know, man.
Tom's crying right now.
I'm not. That's my nose is running. Anyways. And if you could see these guys, right? They're in orange masks. Orange masks.
Green bodysuits, orange masks.
Green bodysuit. They speak perfect English when they have to say the names, then go back to meowing. Absolutely retarded. Sorry. Damn it. I should have said that. You have to cut that?
Absolutely idiotic.
Yeah, it's... Yeah. Anyways, that reminds me, Brian, these guys would be great high flyers because a cat's terminal velocity is much lower than a human's, so they would be in the air longer. You don't have like a Bill Nye science thing you can play? I just gave you some knowledge.
No.
Anyways, Sanjay Dutt makes an appearance in an eye patch due to Loki beating him up a few weeks ago. Challenges Loki for a title match as they stare each other down with one eye each. Sanjay speaks in Hindi and they shake hands to agree to a match for next week. We had a Spud Swoggle video where Swoggle claims how embarrassed he was to have to tell his kids that he was pantsed on TV. Then we had Davey Richards taking on Harold Kumar. Kumar does the worst moonsault from a...
Harold Kumar? Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was something Kumar, but it was like Franchise Kumar. I don't even know. It was the worst moonsault ever from a 135-pound guy. Then he got kicked in the... He missed the moonsault, got kicked in the face, ankle lock to lose. Davey yells Eddie Edwards' name to the camera as he walks up the ramp. EC3, strangely, walks by, mysteriously walks by and out to the ring, and then beats the living crap out of this poor 135-pound Indian jobber with a leather belt before James Storm comes down to make the save. James Storm, future Hall of Famer, by the way.
That's right.
Also, backstage, there was an Eli Drake video package. He's in Bruce Pritchard's face trying to egg him on for a fight, I guess. Chris Masters enters and demanded title shots for both of them tonight, to which Bruce claimed he would ponder it. JB and Josh run down the Slammiversary card, and Swoggle appears chasing Spud in the crowd. Crowd's going nuts for this segment. They didn't even touch. Spud just ran back up the aisle. Mahabali Shira video package. Talks about his family being sportsmen and how he wanted to grow up and take after them. They show his jacked brother getting out of a sports car. Then they show his dad, who was supposed to be a revered sportsman. And I'm not sure this was more than some bones with some rags on hanging from him. Joe Park visited JB in the editing room. He claims his grandfather almost beat George Hackenschmidt in a bare-knuckle fight. Tries to get him to go train for their upcoming match against Scott Steiner and Josh Matthews. We had Lashley come on down to the ring to face his mystery opponent, who is Moose. So this is the Grand Champion versus the World Champion. Moose with a spectacular drop kick to start, Okada-esque. Lashley gets the heat with a cross-body of all things. Another great drop kick by Moose as Lashley was seated up on the top rope. Moose avoids a spear attempt and hits his own spear for 2. JB refers to them as 2 bulls, but I looked around and I didn't see any couples in the crowd. Moose with the go to hell seated chokeslam goes for the game breaker. Lashley evades, hits the ropes, hits the spear, gets the pinfall victory. LAX are hanging and banging in the clubhouse. Orale!
Why is Lashley not the main event?
Well, Alberto El Patron is.
Okay.
I guess the GFW title holds more weight in the Impact world
than
the Impact title. So Conan, they're doing the opposite of what WWE did with WCW. Conan says that now they have the GFW and Impact tag titles. They are the entree and not a side platter. We had video, Instagram, Twitter, media flashing up on the screen of the Impact Stars accounts as they travel to India, along with a video of Spud at the airport talking about the grind. This is the grind that you don't usually see, the non-luxurious part of the job. We had Rosemary taking on the hot mess Laurel Van Ness for the Knockouts title. Siddharth Kanan on the microphone. Great job of announcing here. Much better than almost any of the announcers in the U.S., actually. Van Ness doing the 2012 Jeff Hardy gimmick still. Crowd goes nuts for Rosemary. Sienna working as Laurel's advocate on the outside. Sienna tries to interfere, but Rosemary pushes Laurel into her, schoolgirls her, and wins. Ali makes a save with a bundle of sticks. No joke. Which Rosemary leaves to her as a peace offering. KM wants a title shot at El Patron. Claims he's undefeated and the number 1 contender. Bruce Pritchard lets him know that actually you're not undefeated and you're not the number 1 contender. He reiterates that he is. Bruce says, no, you're not. He asks Bruce if he is calling him a liar. He says he is not calling him a liar, but he's also not calling him number 1 contender and leaves. Joseph Park is at the gym with Borash. Joseph Park is clueless about exercising, doesn't know how to run on the treadmill. He's trying to tell JB how to work out, but JB has to actually show him how. Joseph Park spotting JB from behind while JB does tricep extensions. Park says that the company was built on the back of the X Division, and JB needs to carry the high flying for this team. So he encourages JB to do a slow motion belly flop into the pool, envisioning it as Josh Matthews. We have the main event, which is Alberto El Patron defending his GFW title against a mystery opponent. So mysteriously, Chris Adonis comes down to the ring. They have a match, not much to it. The commentators are basically putting over how tired the guys are from all the travel. They put over the Adonis lock submission. Masters sets up for it, yells out, Masterlock! But El Patron gets out, lays Adonis in the ropes real quick, and hits a double stomp to get the victory. Drake and Adonis lay the boots to El Patron as Lashley stands on the ramp looking on. Moose runs down, makes the save.
And there we go. I gave you the full time that time. I didn't even hit the timer.
How long did I go? Do you think?
I don't know. I didn't even hit the timer.
10 minutes, maybe?
I doubt that long. Sunday is also the Slammiversary show. For those of you that are watching TNA, Lashley, Alberto El Patron in the main event with Dos Caras and King Mo in their corners. And that is a unification match for the Impact title held by Lashley and the GFW title held by Alberto El Patron. They also announced today that
Alberto and Paige got split up.
No.
No?
I don't think so.
Really?
I heard that maybe that was not true.
I know people who talk to Alberto, because I've been checking on that one all week, and it was certainly I haven't talked to anybody today, but it was definitely true as of yesterday.
How about that? That's going to definitely affect his performance here in this match with Lashley at Slammiversary.
Is it?
Well, normally it does when you have these out-of-the-ring experiences leading into a big championship match. Seen it many times in the UFC. GFW purchased by Impact Wrestling. No surprise there, I'm sure.
What's that all about?
I don't know. I guess they bought a belt or something. I don't know what that's all about.
Well, the key is Jeff Jarrett's got points in the company again.
Yep.
So
it's crazy how that works.
Somehow he maneuvered that.
We got the big Jeremy Borash, Joe Park versus Matthews and Scott Steiner match. It's been built up for a long time.
Yeah.
And a bunch of others as well. Ethan Carter III.
Sonjay Dutt, Loki, Ethan Carter III against James Storm in a strap match. 4-way for the tag team titles, where we don't know two of the teams, but the other two are going to be LAX against Drago and El Hijo del Fantasma, which is very interesting politically because it's, Conan's managing against AAA guys. And I'm surprised the AAA is letting it happen. I'm not as surprised that Conan would be involved in it. But it's in Mexico, that just couldn't happen. But I guess both sides figured that they need Anthem. I think that's what it is. So they're not going to make waves, I guess. It's the only thing I can come up with because that's really, really weird. The other one is Drago being on that show because he's a Lucha Underground guy. And, a lot of people from Lucha Underground are really, they're very curious as to what's happening because nobody knows. There's no new taping dates announced. It's been a year since they taped. And, a lot of guys just want to get out of the contracts and be able to go somewhere. Because, these guys, they can't go to Ring of Honor. They can't go to TNA. They can't go to WWE. They could go to New Japan, but they can't sign with New Japan. They can just go. So, there's just, I think people are just sitting there kind of tired of waiting. And whatever happens, happens, I guess.
All right, let's talk about this Slammiversary show. Getting very late here. I watched everything up to the Loki match, so I guess I'll go through that, and then you can finish the rest. What'd you think overall?
It didn't do them any good to be going against New Japan this weekend because it's like, it feels, like there's stuff that they do, which is, they do the same stuff that they always do. It's the same type of booking and everything like that. And it's like, I think that if you did like one match on a show with all that kind of booking, with the outside interference and even the way they do the false finishes, they're very, you kick out of, it's like I kick out of your big move, you kick out of my big move thing. If you save that for one match or so, it's one thing. But when you do it like in every match on the show, or not every match, but a lot of it, and there's a lot of interference, and it's just like you're trying to book, like you got this idea. I think the thing is that they make booking complicated, and I think that's one of the big problems. In the sense that, if you watch like Ghetto's booking, it's not that complicated. It's complicated in the sense that he's got to build a long-term picture, but it's not complicated on the show itself. And the Jarrett and Dutch and Scott D'Amore, it's like they try to do all these layers and everything like that. They try to make the booking so detailed and so many things and so unpredictable. But what it is that then it feels like overbooked, not in like a really bad, stupid way, but it has that feel. There's some storyline that they're doing. I have no idea what it was, but Bruce Pritchard wasn't there. And Dutch Mantell was trying to call him, and Karen Jarrett was trying to call him. So that's probably going to play into the TVs this week. the crowd, it's that Orlando crowd. It's the same, before it used to be like the Orlando crowd for NXT was like a really cool crowd, and then the crowd for TNA was not so cool, just kind of dead. And now they're both kind of like that. I'm watching this going like, these fans in Orlando, they've run, both these companies run Orlando so much. These people have seen so much. And yeah, if you have like a really super match, they'll get up. But you could say that about a crowd anywhere. I just kept feeling, and I know that for economic reasons, it will happen with neither. But my feeling when I watch both shows is they got to get out of this place. This place is it's just been burned out, and that was kind of like my thought. It's there were no great matches, which is kind of the tough when you go. I mean, Loki and Sanjay Dutt was a good match, and I'm trying. I think Ethan Carter and James Storm was, for what it was, it was a good match. The first match, there's a lot of talent in that first match. I thought there was a lot of rough stuffs, like Marufuji not really getting the hang of the six-sided ring and things like that, but it turned into be a good match. So, D'Angelo Williams, I mean, have you ever seen a guy?
Oh my God, this guy was awesome.
Have you ever seen this guy in his first match, and I heard D'Amore say that like he's never seen a guy so natural, and maybe Kurt Angle was, who the fuck knows, but maybe not. I mean, this guy is probably better than almost anyone. Wouldn't you say pretty much almost anyone with 2 years training in WWE, and even and a lot of guys with 2 years training in New Japan? I mean, this guy. I mean, I'm sure that the spots were carefully laid out, and these guys worked through the spots and everything like that. But even so, this guy has potential to be like another, Matt, every bit of a Matt Riddle, maybe more. I mean, he was so good.
I was blown away with this guy.
Oh, me too.
Let's start at the beginning here. We'll get into all of this. So, by the way, Don West and Robert Flores did commentary, and I thought they did a hell of a job. I was not annoyed one time.
I thought Don West overdoes it, but he's so excited. I mean, he was pushing.
He makes
hard.
you excited for it.
Yeah, sometimes. I think he overdid it, but I thought overall he was really good. And Robert Flores was like, it's the first time he's ever done it at this level on a live show. It's a tough thing to be in. And given all that, I thought he was very good. But the thing with him is like he knew everything that he was supposed to know, and you could tell he's like a really big fan. And he's a professional broadcaster, so they were good. The thing like that just like was the worst thing when the show was over is that Jeremy Borash and Josh Matthews thing. Whether you like the match or not, that has nothing to do with it. I mean, they did. They
loved it.
I mean, it was wacky as hell.
Awesome.
It was wacky as hell. It was goofy as hell and all that. That's fine. But when it was over, it's like they're both going to be announcers next week. They kept saying, starting next week, Josh and Jeremy. It's like the whole idea of this feud was to get rid of one of them.
Yeah, I thought the idea was that Josh was out of here now that he lost.
Well, I mean, Josh has been so good in the feud that that they're going to keep him as an announcer. I thought
make him a manager.
I know. So that's the deal. So he's going to be the heel manager, and they're still the announce team. So it's like, what the hell was this all about? Other than a bunch
well, it
of
was
wacky.
all about because they were supposed to be doing a match, so they had to bring in a new announce team. That's what they explained. But I mean, they were a good announce team. So
yeah, but we're not going to see him anymore. We're going to go back to Jeremy and Josh.
Well, anyway, they opened up with the presidents of Crash Noah, as well as Dorian Roldan and Ed Nordholm. And the opener was the LAX versus Laredo Kid and Garza Jr., Drago and Hijo del Fantasma, and Naomichi Marufuji and Taiji Shimori of Noah. This match, if the Young Bucks watched this match, they would say that there was too many spots. I mean, there was nothing resembling there was no heat, there was no shine, there was no comeback. It was one long, like 20-minute high spot. They just kept going, like the longest high spot you've ever seen. That was this whole match. And there was some great stuff. There was some good stuff. There was some sloppy stuff. I believe that Diamante blew out her knee doing a kick at one point. Phantasma did his tope. And finally, Homicide gave Garza a Gringo Killer on the apron. And then LAX hit their finish, the 51-50 for the pin. I mean, if you like moves, I don't think there's been a match I've seen this year with more moves in a single match than this one. It was crazy.
Yeah, they did a lot of stuff. The crowd wasn't super hot for a lot of it. I thought Marufuji was good in certain spots, but it was good. It was a good match, but there was something missing out of the match, I think.
Yeah, a story. It was crazy.
Yeah.
Even a video game would have a better story than this match. But man, there were a lot of moves, and some of them were really cool. So if that's what you like, this was a match for you. We had Joe Park telling Borash it's no DQ tonight. Borash was horrified, but Park said, I've got it covered. You can rely on some old friends. And then, yes, we had Moose and D'Angelo Williams against Eli Drake and Chris Adonis. D'Angelo Williams' very first match. I have never seen a guy so good in his first match. It was crazy.
It was freaky how good he was.
The only thing that, he looked really green at was just his selling, but he didn't do a lot of it.
Not even that for a first match guy. I thought.
Well, for a first match guy, he was way beyond. But if I had to point out one thing, and it was this is what this guy needs to work on more than anything else, it certainly was nothing except his selling.
Well, yeah. I could say, but I thought his selling was. I'm watching him going how is he this good? And then I'm waiting, and I'm going okay, everything he's doing is completely set up ahead of time, which was, very practiced. But when it comes to the selling, that's when it's going to get scary. And it's the selling was fine. He sold better than most guys at a year and a half in. This guy has, this guy probably has the potential to be one of the greatest wrestler I've ever seen.
That is absolutely true.
Maybe not quite. That's probably too much.
I don't know if that's too much based on what I saw tonight.
I was just amazed at how well he flowed. Even Matt Riddle, as great as he was right away, or Akiyama or somebody like that, he was as smooth as they were, but he can do all kinds of athletic stuff that at a level that, even those guys couldn't do. Even Kurt, Kurt a year in, was probably close to this, but I saw Kurt in Memphis and he wasn't as good as this guy. And Kurt, it's Kurt Angle who was the guy, maybe Owen Hart, I could say that, but that's almost an unfair comparison because Owen Hart was practicing this stuff from when he was 12, from the age of 12 probably.
Oh, yeah.
He had a ring. This guy, it's unbelievable how good he was.
So there's all of these awesome spots. He did a code breaker, standing moonsault. The people are on their feet. They threw a table into the ring. The only downside is poor D'Angelo Williams. They set up the table. They put Adonis on the table. All he has to do is do a top rope splash to the table, and the match is over, and it's the best debut ever. But he goes up there,
and he overshot.
The goddamn table doesn't break, and he lands right on his face. And they cover Adonis anyway. They get the pin. And then, of course, since the table didn't break, Moose calls his own audible. He runs back. He grabs Eli Drake. They drag him down to the ring. Moose powerbombs him through the table. And that's that. By the way, Eli Drake, that guy deserves credit as well because he did nearly every spot with D'Angelo Williams. He did very little with D'Angelo and Chris Adonis. It was almost all Eli Drake. So that guy deserves some credit, too.
Yeah, there was one spot, though, with Eli Drake that messed up. I remember that. Where it was really bad. And to the point where they had to, acknowledged it in the commentary and almost made it wow, he's acting like he really planned it that way, in that sense. But I thought, all things considered, that wasn't a bad match at all. It was a good match.
We had James Storm, EC3 in a strap match, and they strapped the hell out of each other, did a spot where EC3 was going to handcuff him to the corner, but I guess Storm used Houdini's sleight of hand to handcuff EC3 there instead. strapped the hell out of him.
So the story of the match is that they did an angle where EC3 whipped him 31 times with a belt. So in this one, when he finally made his comeback, I think he hit him 32 times with a belt.
So they end up outside, and EC3 yanks the strap, and Storm goes headfirst into the post. I guess we're going to do a concussion angle, because EC3 throws him into the ring, and Storm fired up, hit a super kick out of nowhere, but then just collapsed. And the ref told EC3 to pin him, but EC3 gave him an Angel's Wings for the pin instead. And they sold it like Storm was, for a while, like he was paralyzed, but then later they did help him to the back. But doing a big-time injury angle with James Storm, and EC3 gets the win.
So that sets up EC3 as a contender for Alberto.
Josh Matthews and Scott Steiner versus Joe Park and Jeremy Borash. So Steiner comes out. He worked in a tank top here. Still a big dude, but
nothing like before.
No, not even close.
But he's what, 54, 55 years old now.
Yep. So Josh is just out of control. I mean, way worse than D'Angelo Williams. He's running. He's flying all over the place. He's trying flips like a backyarder. So they tease Josh versus Borash, but Josh tags in Steiner, so Borash tags in Joe Park. They end up brawling backstage, and we get the post-Hardy edition of the final deletion. So it starts with Borash and Park fleeing. Steiner and Matthews chase them in a golf cart. And Borash and Park spray him with a fire extinguisher. They steal a car from the guy from the Hardy videos. They end up outside, and Borash backdrops Josh into a pool.
By the way, apparently the Hardys are real close to the resolution with Anthem. And
well, very good.
Gimmick. So they may be getting the gimmick pretty soon. They're very close to getting that gimmick.
So, of course, anytime you take a bump into the water, it's an automatic big pop. So Borash follows up with a cannonball to a spot where I guess Josh is trying to drown Borash, but Shark Boy makes a cameo to make the save. Joe Park is taken out. Jim Mitchell shows up, gives him the Abyss mask, tells him Happy Slammiversary. Fans in the building are going nuts. They're chanting holy shit. They return live. Josh chases Borash down the ramp. Robert Irvine's there in the front row. He shoves Josh, and Josh flies like 15 feet. Mm-hmm. Josh misses his senton. Borash spears him. Steiner makes the save. We have Shark Boy coming down. He runs wild until Steiner hits him with an overhead belly-to-belly. Steiner goes to put Borash in the recliner, but Abyss's music hits. And James Mitchell appears on the ramp. Abyss appears in the ring. Destroys both heels. Spreads the thumbtacks. Hits the black hole slam into the tacks on Josh. And then Borash comes off the top with a big splash on Josh for the pin. He's got tacks all over in his hands, sticking to him.
Yeah.
And away they go. Borash and Abyss win. I thought this was awesome.
I mean, it was pretty wacky stuff. It was good.
Hey, it was a great story. It was a hell of a story.
Yeah, I mean, it had its twists and turns. It was good. It was real good for what it was. But, I mean, it's like, if that's the match you're going to do that with, that's really cool. But they try to do that with every match. And I think that's what really, especially later in the show, which kind of got old and felt dated. I mean, like the show it had a very dated feel to me.
Well, the weird thing was, I thought that this match kind of felt really modern because they were doing the final deletion stuff. They did stuff backstage. There were callbacks. It was very creative. And they followed it up with the Full Metal Mayhem with Eddie Edwards and Alicia versus Davey Richards and Angelina Love. And, like, I don't know how much time they got, but they just, I mean, there was, like, no psychology. They came out and were immediately there was a ladder in the ring within a minute. They just did all sorts of... They hit each other with everything. They were just smashing each other with everything. Eddie...
That one didn't bother me. So Eddie and Davey were pretty good, but the problem was that the women tried really, really hard, and they hit each other really hard and all that, but in that setting, you could see that they just... they're just not... they're not that good of workers. And I think that's what they're saying. It was the same thing with the Sienna match with... what's her name? Rosemary, where it's like with Sienna and Rosemary, I thought they laid out a good match, especially the finish, but it just was not a good match. the wrestling just wasn't good. And I think because one of the problems or good things, you can depending on how you look at it, is because everybody now is like a technically good wrestler to a certain degree. I'm not saying they're all ring generals or anything like that, and but they can do moves where it doesn't look like you don't have like that the really crappy workers that like you used to have, where they were just like really abysmal. I mean, everyone's competent, and then when you see people who are not all that good, they really stand out. Whereas like before, it's like with women matches, just an example. You kind of like, okay, it's women's matches. It's American women's matches. There probably isn't going to be that good. And you kind of accept it. That's what it's going to be. But now, because a lot of the women's matches, most of the women's matches we see on TV are good matches, solid work, that when you see like the matches that are not as, they're just not quite as good, it just stands out. So I didn't think, those two matches, I thought they just weren't that good.
So we had a spot where Davey Richards poured thumbtacks in Eddie's mouth.
Okay, so I mean, the thumbtacks in the mouth spot obviously is from the Young Bucks and Hardys and all that, but and Romero and Beretta. But the thing is you just did thumbtacks in a match, and now you're going to come back with thumbtacks in a match?
Yep, back to back. And then the finish was a sunset flip powerbomb off a ladder through a table. And I couldn't figure out why they were climbing the ladder if there was nothing to grab. They were just like...
Because it was a Full Metal Mayhem match.
I guess, but like, you're just going to climb a ladder for the hell of it? Like, usually there's a point.
To jump off.
All right, well, I was not a big fan of this match, but that's just me.
I thought the finishing spot was really spectacular. And there's some good stuff with Eddie Edwards and Davey Richards, but I thought that it just... it kind of got dragged down, and also, when you had that crowd, it's like when you do all that crazy stuff and the crowd's just kind of lukewarm. It hurts that a lot too.
All right, take us through the last three matches.
Okay, so it was Loki and Sanjay Dutt, I think, was next, right?
Yep. First fall was awesome.
Okay, wait, we can talk about okay, so. Loki and Sanjay Dutt had a good match, but the crowd, it was actually a very good match, but the crowd was, so Sanjay Dutt used a springboard Hurricane Rana into a sunset flip by Loki, into a double foot stomp by Loki on the ground to win the first fall. It was a very nice looking finish. The second fall was, Loki came off with a double foot stomp, but Sanjay Dutt cradled him. And in the third fall, Loki, he's a key crusher once, and Sanjay Dutt kicked out. He went for that Del Rio style double foot stomp, and Dutt threw him off, basically by his tie, because Loki's working the match in a suit and tie, and he got rid of the suit in the third fall, I think. But he kind of does the sit up, and then he grabs Loki by the tie and flips him off the top rope, and then he does a moonsault into a double foot stomp and gets the pin, which was actually quite a good looking finish. So, very good work, but just lukewarm crowd. Then the Sienna Rosemary match for both belts. Before the match, they brought out Gail Kim, and I'm not exactly sure why. I mean, maybe she's going to be challenging the winner, but they didn't actually say that. They just said, here's Gail Kim, the Hall of Famer, the person who put the Knockouts division on the map. She was all dressed up. She looked absolutely gorgeous, by the way. But Sienna won when the finish to me was really clever. I mean, I liked it, but it was like so much. You got Rosemary's out, and then Kevin Matthews, and Laurel Van Ness come out. And then Sienna told them to leave because she wanted to win the title on her own. And Rosemary did a planche off the top ropes on Sienna that was. It's like they have their heart in the right places. I'll just say that. Rosemary did like some drop kicks. They both did their big finish. Well, Sienna did her big finish, which is the silencer, and Rosemary kicked out. And then Rosemary did the Red Wedding, and then Laurel Van Ness was back, and she pulled Earl Hebner out of the ring. So she starts kind of hitting on Earl Hebner. So Earl Hebner's just completely like paying no attention to the match. Then Allie comes out, and she's chasing Laurel Van Ness around with a kendo stick to the back. And then there was a belt shot with Sienna used a belt shot, and Rosemary kicked out, which it got a big pop. But it's kind of like, you do that kind of thing, and I don't know, it's like it was too much of that. Rosemary went to blow the mist. Sienna closed her mouth, so she's blowing the mist into her hand. Sienna's hand is now burning, and she puts her burned hand into Rosemary's eyes, so it burns Rosemary's eyes, and then Sienna uses a guillotine for the finish. Like I said, very clever, but just all that interference and everything like that, after we'd already had the same type of thing in the Jeremy Borash match, I just felt like way too much, and also the wrestling was not particularly good in this match at all. And then Jeff Jarrett came out and brought his family, and he just did kind of like your politician speech. My family's been in the business for 70 years. You fans have put food on our table for 3 generations. We thank any one of you fans. If you tweet about us, we thank you. If you buy a ticket, we thank you. If you watch us on TV, we thank you. It's just kind of like he's the guy in charge, and he's trying to be the babyface authority figure, which is fine. And he told Bobby Lashley and Alberto Del Rio to bring in, or Alberto El Patron to bring their A game. So the main event was Bobby and Alberto. You had King Mo and Dos Caras in the corner, and Jeff Monson was there, and Conan Silveira was there, and there were a couple other guys there. The El Hijo del Dos Caras was there as well. But when the match started, everybody went to the back, and other than Mo and Dos Caras, the crowd, a lot of the match was kind of on the deadish side. The wrestling was good. This was, I think, maybe the best match on the show. And so the Del Rio basically won with a step up, and so Bobby Lashley shoved Dos Caras, slapped Dos Caras. He was distracted, so Lashley's distracted, and Del Rio does an enziguri and posted him, and then does a double foot stomp and beats him, and it ends with like Jarrett and Scott D'Amore was out there, Ed Nornholm was out there, Marufuji was out there, Sanjay was out there, and El Hijo del Fantasma were out there, and kind of celebrating the title win with Alberto. And it just wasn't very hot. I mean, the match was fine. But yeah, it just, that's what it was. The product just didn't, it wasn't like it's a bad show or anything, but it's just, my feel was, you got to get out of this building, and you can't do so many matches with the run-ins and interference and all that. Like, one is fine, but when you have like again in the main event, you had all the, you had the interference as well. Not as much, but you still had it. And it's like when you do it in every single match, it feels like a dated product. That's all.
Yeah.
One other thing before you do your plugs, Tom. I watched Impact this week. It's just a show. It's just a show.
Well, what happened?
I don't know. I don't remember anything.
I'll give you 5 minutes.
I mean, there was Alberto coming out after he'd been suspended by GFW. Here he is all over TV, and tried to kidnap him into LAX. And there was some goofy storyline where Grado's going to be deported, but he's got to marry a girl in order to not be deported. So he's like going all over trying to...
He's going to marry Laurel Van Ness.
Yeah, he's trying to hit on all these girls, and they're just not into him, and it's like a bunch of matches. I mean, it wasn't bad. I mean, it wasn't like the old Nitro or the old Impact that was just absolutely horrible, but it wasn't good. It was just there. I couldn't understand how it could be watched every week. I don't know. I have like no memory of the show. I watched the whole thing.
What about the X Division?
Let's see if I can find some notes right here. Then maybe that would help. Thank God I've got a website.
Yeah, good luck finding the results.
It's right here. All right, so...
No way.
We had the LAX deal where they're trying to recruit Alberto El Patron, which is weird because of everything that's going on with him. ACH Andrew Everett first round X Cup match was all right. ACH won. Andrew Everett's just got a body. I mean, he's just got a body. He doesn't really look like an athlete, but he doesn't look like a fan. It's just weird. So, I don't know. Octagoncito and Damus was fine. Naomichi Marufuji and Moose in this goofy, whatever they call it for the Grand Championship with the rounds. I just can't get into the rounds. It's so weird. Like, they wrestle and then they got to stop. Then they sit in the corner. Then they wrestle and they got to stop. They sit in the corner. And then, what are you doing? You're not even paying attention to me, Tom.
What?
I can't believe this.
Somebody sent me a link of me and Kurt Angle taking on Kenta Kobashi and Misawa in a Fire Pro match.
Fire Pro? Wow.
Yeah.
Well, it's more interesting than the show right here.
I know. Well, why do you think I was watching that?
Yeah. That's my report, everybody. That's all I got.
Oh, that you just gave up?
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. I appreciate it.
I used to have to deal with that every week, Brian.
I'm here every week.
Are you kidding me?
I'm here every day. 3 times a day, by the way.
What are you talking